meeting will please come to order. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Now we are on item 2, which is the roll call, and I ask our secretary to conduct that.
Favor, present. Levitt, present. Dawson. Here. Hughes Scruggs.
Hugh Scruggs has indicated she may be a bit late.
Jerika.
Here. Studemeyer has also indicated that she may be a bit late, but expects to be here before 8 o'clock. Item 3 is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved by Jerika, and supported by Dawson. That we approve the agenda as presented. Are there any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Now we are at item 5, which is public comments, and we do have kind of member of. Oh, I missed 4.
Oh.
Sorry, I can back up. I'm just checking away. Approval of the regular meeting minutes from March 13th. Those minutes were in your packets and distributed in advance to our board members, so hopefully everybody's looked at them. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Dawson and supported by Chehevitz. Are there any comments prior to our vote on that, or any corrections or details about the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of the approval of the March 13th minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now, we are at public comment. Oh, we see Randy Priest, a member of the Belleville public. Or Rosemary, she's a member of the public. Anybody have any comments they want to offer?
I just came from Sumter, and I want you to know that Supervisor Morgan asked where the groundbreaking was going to be, and he was told it's at the site. And so he sort of knows where it is.
Well, we just met with Supervisor Morgan a couple days ago and kind of talked about that. But I'm glad it was reinforced, and maybe that let the whole audience know better. Were you the one that had to answer the question?
Well, several of us in the audience
Were able
said
to.
it was at the site where they're gonna build it.
Yes, yes, that's where you would break the ground. We did just meet with them, and I'm glad that it's on their mind, and I look forward to them coming. Any other comments from the public? Randy?
Well, yeah, you know, with John especially, that I've been wanting to revisit this thing about the mechanical screen.
Mhm.
We apparently don't need it, could save us a lot of money, so I did a lot of, kind of some research on it, and I wanted to propose to revisit it at the next meeting. And I actually got it on the agenda,
For April
and only to
12th?
find out it's been removed from the agenda.
Oh,
And I don't know how or why, but looked up, maybe somebody could help me here, but I looked up Robert's rules, and it says things that have been voted on can be reconsidered or even rescinded at the next meeting. So I can't figure out why, but somebody may want to come to the meeting and ask why they took it off the agenda, because I have a lot to say about it, but I don't want to say things that are gonna get people in trouble or make them look bad, or I just feel in the middle of it, so.
you are saying though that the April 12th agenda was taken off?
It was on, and they sent us the packets, and then I got an email that it's been taken off, so, and I don't know why. And they said to talk to Steve Jones, but I called him this morning and I haven't heard from him all day, so.
Hmm.
Anyway, I just want to give you, I told you at our other little meeting the other day that I was gonna do this, and you might come down and add your comments and, you know, why, things that might be done by saving this money. And I just wanted to inform you that I don't know where that sits now, so.
Thank
But
you.
You're welcome to come.
Thank you for that information, and I guess we will have some follow-up we need to do pretty quickly. Thank you. I don't, yeah, that's, are there other comments from the public? Okay, then we move into our committee reports, and as is our usual, the preponderance of our discussion would be in the area of our new building and things going on that are gonna take place this week. And in fact, I had anticipated some discussion about the planning commission meeting. But we will start with the other things we need to talk about, and I will let the lead on that. I'll hand over to our building committee chair, Joy Jehevitz, to start us off.
We've had 3 meetings, I believe, since the last one, I think. I don't remember if the first carpet meeting, was that before our other board meeting, but.
No, it's after.
Okay. So we've had,
I think it was 2.
2 meetings, okay. So we've had 2 meetings, and one in which we talked extensively about the bids that came in, and another one in which we met with Sumter officials. So I think we should probably, Nan's here, we should probably talk about the bids first. I'm gonna let you present your letter of recommendation.
Certainly. Good evening.
Good evening, Matt.
Matt with O'Neill Construction, for those that don't know. In your packet, you should have a letter dated April 3rd, 2018, addressed to Mary Jo, regarding the Bid Pack 1 site construction. We met as a building committee on April 5th, presented this information, each of the bid results for each of the categories listed in the bullet points in the letter, and then also the contractors that we're recommending for award. At the April 5th meeting, the building committee did vote to approve our recommendations.
Unanimously. Unanimously.
Unanimously, yes, thank you very much. Just real quick, so for surveying and layout, Midwestern Consulting is the recommended contractor. For earthwork grading and underground utilities, Blue Ribbon Contracting was the apparent low bidder, and everything checked out. They are recommended for contract award. Fencing, industrial fencing, same applies to them. They are recommended for award. Landscaping, Salisbury Landscaping Group, who is a local contractor. Their scope checked out and they are recommended for award. Site Concrete, Fessler and Bowman Incorporated. They were the parent low bidder and their scope checked out, so we recommended them for award. After that is bike racks, which is a small portion of our budget. Mad Racks is a supply only, which they were within our budget, and we recommended to the building committee to maintain the rest of our budget because we'll need to install those bike racks. So we used the leftover portion of that budget to install the bike racks supplied by Mad Racks. And then flagpole, we took 2 flagpole bids. The low bidder was not all inclusive, they didn't have an installation number. So we took Rocket Enterprise, who was a full furnished and installed price and within our budget, and we recommend them for contract award as well. So all that is documented in our letter. There is a snapshot of our budget specific to the site items that we bid out. This gives us a comparison of our budget versus the bid pack results. We're well under budget on these categories. We had some in-depth discussion amongst the committee what that means and how to move forward with it. But that gave everybody the confidence to move forward with these particular categories. In addition, in your packet is a tabulation report for each individual category that was bid out. So you can see the number of bidders, the names of the companies, the dollar values, and so on.
And we were able to include a few of the alternatives, such as
Yeah, we should-
architect people.
We should probably be more specific about accepting alternates.
I can do that, I'll do that now, is what you mean, Dan?
Well, I guess if we want the board to vote to approve, do you think we should?
Yeah, I can, give you a little
It's just a
synopsis of
couple, yeah.
of what is in each. So for instance, Midwestern Consulting, they did not have any alternates or voluntary alternates. They were within our budget. One thing we did vote as a group to do is they were $16,600, as you can see at the bottom of page 2. We did choose as a committee to maintain the rest of that budget in that category because oftentimes layout and surveying needs additional services throughout the course of a project.
Can I interject?
Please.
I think for the board to understand, so I think what Matt is recommending is tonight we would award a contract to Midwestern Consulting in the amount of $16,600, which was their bid, but we're gonna hold, kind of in reserve, the balance of what we had in that line item for any additional, like, change orders that might come up related to that. So, I'm not sure you were following, but our intent
That's
is,
the
we have a
13,400.
specific dollar amount of a
Right.
contract award. Matt would prepare the contracts, Mary Jo or Sharon would sign them, but if we want to get sort of a
Yep.
clear,
Dan is exactly right. That's a very clear synopsis. We would award for 16.6, which was their bid, but we would maintain the rest of that budget should we need to use it for layout and surveying beyond their contract bid.
And it does show on this.
Correct. It shows the reserve of 13,400, which we would keep in the survey and layout budget.
and as just to also interject, Midwestern Consulting is the firm that the library hired to do the topographic and boundary survey. And they're the firm that have been working with the library, providing the easements and the parcel descriptions, and so there's certainly a familiarity there and, an ongoing relationship. So.
Right, and very well qualified to do all the things we're gonna need them to do. So the second one is earthwork grading and utilities. You can see Blue Ribbon Contracting. We've got a low bid amount of $766,600, which includes the demolition of this existing library. We included that into the package. That'll be beneficial as we get into the second phase, the parking lot phase, and the demolition phase of the project, because then we'll have one contractor responsible for building demolition and site work and constructing the parking lot. As you can see, there was a considerable savings there in that category. But the award would be for the $766,600. Now that savings in that budget would be allocated elsewhere. Right now, the discussion was had with the building committee that would be allocated into the owner's contingency for future uses.
So our owner contingency is slim, and we don't know what the next level of bids will bring.
Right, it provides a benefit of twofold. One, replenishing that owner contingency, or two, helping with the future bids, should there be pluses or minuses as we go forward.
Or adding in alternatives.
Correct. To Dan's point about alternates, we did bid the building demolition of the existing library as a voluntary alternate. Many earthwork contractors do that type of work, some do not. We didn't want to create a situation where we were excluding anybody by making it a strict requirement, so we made it a voluntary alternate. Hi.
Hello. I am.
Yeah, which,
Okay.
I forget which alternate number that was.
It was a voluntary alternate. It was voluntary alternate number 2 under that package.
The demo.
Correct. Yep, good evening. So we exercised that because it was well within the overall budget of the earthwork and the demolition. Yes, sir. Right, we also have set, there's still holding on to the earth retention allowance.
Is he on here?
Okay.
Yes, because you had that 35, that's real good. So,
Yeah.
You want to give them
Matt.
a specific dollar amount, you're just gonna let that go through the contract? I guess, maybe want the board to sort of vote to award a contract.
Yeah, they can vote on these amounts in here. So the 16.6 is good, and then the 766.6 is good. But just so you, it'll include allowance in their contract for the earth
You'll
retention.
put that allowance in the
Right.
contract.
Which if they don't use it, we'll pull it back
Pull
out.
it back. Understood. I'm sorry.
No problem. One thing Dan was clarifying so that we're all clear, if you look under your spreadsheet under site work for Blue Ribbon Contracting, so Blue Ribbon's contracting is made, their award amount that we're asking for approval tonight is made up of three amounts. So Blue Ribbon Contracting, 54,000 is the demolition of the existing library. The second number is Blue Ribbon Contracting, $677,600, which is the grading, the earthwork, and the utilities. And then there's also an earth retention allowance that will be wrote into their contract. Those three numbers create the $766,600.
The earth retention is the 12.9.
That's the
No.
35,000.
No, that's,
Immediately
it's line
under-
item 14 at the top of this page.
Yep.
It's a separate line item. What Matt is suggesting is, we're just gonna carry that in their contract. We may or may not use it.
Sharon, stay
So
on page.
what is the 12.9?
The 12.9 was another voluntary alternate that we asked for. We may need to use some stone during the course of construction, and that's what that was for, some temporary stone. We haven't decided to exercise on that yet, because we may not need it, so we haven't included it in the total.
Okay, so this here.
Right, so Blue Ribbon's contract amount that we're recommending for award is made up of the 54,000, the 677,600, and the 35,000.
Which, may not all be used.
Correct, the 35,000 is an allowance. It's an allowance because once we start digging the deep excavation underneath where the foundations are gonna go, if soils hold up, we may not need to use as much of it. If soils don't hold up, we may need to use some more. So that will be tracked, and then any unused portions will be refunded back to the library.
Does this account for, after we take all the dirt out, does this account for all the sand that's gotta go back in there?
Correct.
Okay,
Yep, that's all part of this contract.
okay.
Correct. So the third contract tonight for recommendation is fencing, industrial fence, $27,376. As you can see from the bid tabulation, that coincides with their base bid. We did not exercise any alternates or voluntary alternates for this category. One thing we were able to capture, over and above our original budgeting, was the garden fence. This price does include the garden fence for the children's area, so we were able to take advantage of that additional scope as well.
Which was an alternate.
No, that was basic.
It was base bid.
Okay.
I was pleased to find out that Matt set it up where the museum is having a program June the 9th, and she's gonna have about 100 women there from Rosie the Riveter. And then Matt has it so that the fence can be removed, and he's gonna clean the street so they can have their function in the street and a band, so.
But you were gonna say they were gonna do some riveting.
Yeah, they can help with the building.
So, thank you, Matt, for setting that up.
You're welcome. We'll continue to work with them to
Make
try
sure
to
that
satisfy
works.
them best we can.
Community.
Certainly.
Good.
The fourth contract for discussion is the landscaping, which is Salisbury Landscaping, $67,351. That does include 2 alternates, which we felt important and we were able to accomplish with being under budget overall. So we're exercising the alternate for the irrigation. So all of our new trees and plantings and shrubbery will have an automatic irrigation system. Just allows for better growth and better long-term of the planting material. We're also able to exercise, and that was alternate number 1 under that category. We're also able to exercise alternate number 3, which is the planting plugs for the swale drainage of the parking lot. We had a lot of discussion about those plants, whether they should be done by a donation group or whether we should bid them later, but we're able to incorporate that in to the project now and still be under budget.
Low water, native plants.
Yep, things that will thrive and things that
Don't require a
will
lot.
establish good growth and soil erosion for that.
And are
That
also
drainage.
pollinators.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
Oh,
if
for
they're
bees?
Bee friendly.
Well, aren't we wonderful?
Next one
You
down.
can't imagine some of the discussions that we had. I learned a lot of things. I wasn't at the meeting, so I didn't, that meeting, I didn't get to hear, but this is the bee lady over here.
They didn't make it.
It's all positive stuff, right?
Yes, it's all good.
Next category down is site concrete. Fessler and Bowman for a low bid and contract award amount of $113,400. We did meet with them. They had all the scope of work necessary. This was part of the base scope, but a note for everyone to understand. This does include a small amount of concrete outside of the children's area where the garden fence is going to be. It also includes the patio concrete outside of the staff area by the transformer enclosure, which we felt was a necessary piece. It includes all of the concrete around the dumpster area, so the dump trucks can come and pick up the dumpsters. And then it's all the other concrete around the building and around the parking lot. Curbs, sidewalks, driveway approaches, front entrance concrete. All of that is included. They did have an alternate number 4 for an amount of $7,000. We are not exercising on that right now because it's a 2-piece alternate. What that means is we're looking at a snow melt system for the concrete at the front entrance. The other piece will come later when we bid the building by the mechanical or plumbing contractor. Fessler Bowman did agree to hold their price for the time necessary so that we could make the decision when we have all the numbers in the future. So we could exercise it at that time if we choose to move forward at the same price. So we're moving forward with the recommendation of their base bid of $113,400.
So they'll be doing part of the concrete work and then coming back to do some later.
Yes, they have a 2-phase contract similar to the earthwork, similar to the landscaper, similar to a lot of these early trades. They'll do everything necessary around the building to get us open and occupied and functional, and then they'll come back and do the rest around the parking lot when we build that later down the road.
Does that bioswale have a curb around it?
It does. Yep, and it's got some drainage inlets in it as well, that are like little openings in the curb to allow for drainage. Moving on to bike racks. Mad Racks was the only price we got, but it was within our budget and it was an acceptable product. We did talk a little bit about some possibilities of this and whether we wanted to get creative as a group with some non-standard bike racks. So although their price is within our budget and we certainly can move forward, I don't know that, Joy, that the team made any decision as to whether we wanted to hold off on this for more creativity or if we wanted to just go ahead.
Really cute bike racks, I just saw,
Yeah,
so it would be, kind of outside art. Some of them are.
So I think probably tonight we won't exercise any approval to do anything with the Mad Racks price, in case the committee would like to do something more creative. We have plenty of time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this
to
is
do that,
later on things.
It's,
Because
we'll
they,
need
yeah,
it,
they won't be installed.
They won't be put in until-
the end.
until the end, next summer. The last one on the list is the flagpole. It is a 30-foot flagpole, so the 30 feet above the concrete, it will stick up. It is a full price of furnish and installation. Rocket Enterprise, they're in Warren, Michigan. They're a Michigan contractor. They're a good contractor. I've employed them in the past. They are within our budget. We chose them over the low bidder of Poltech because Poltech did not have an installation price. Therefore, we took a complete scope and went with Rocket Enterprise.
Good. Thank you.
So all in all, that's the bids we took. We had several bids in a lot of the major categories. The opening went well. Hillary was here. Mary MJ was here, and everything went pretty smoothly. And we'll look forward to the next run in May when we put out the rest.
Great.
So
Great.
the letter about the awarding of the bids, we would want to cross out Mandrax for now.
Correct. And proceed with the rest of the recommendations.
Okay.
And this board wants to act upon this, Madam
Yes.
Committee Chair?
I would like to make a motion that we approve the contracts as represented for Midwestern Consulting, Blue Ribbon Contracting, Industrial Fence, Salisbury Landscaping Group, Fessler and Bowman, Inc., and Rocket Enterprise, Inc., and we will wait on Madrax.
Second that.
It has been moved and seconded that we approve the award of the bid package number 1 as indicated. Are there further questions or comments?
I have a comment. I'd like a roll call vote on this thing, as we're spending a heck of a lot of money.
Okay, we can do roll call votes for many things, but, and I'm just glad that we're spending a little, it's a heck of a lot, but not quite as much as it could,
Right.
which is a good thing.
I would like, before we do a roll call vote, if you can just explain in like 5 or 6 sentences how the bidding process was done
Certainly.
overall.
Thank you.
Certainly. So the first step is we receive documents from Daniels and Zermatt, which are drawings and specifications. And then we couple with that what we call instructions to bidders and bid scopes, which may also include phasing plans, logistics plans, schedules. So all of that in-depth information is provided to the bidder so that you have apples to apples bids when it comes down to the bids. The next step in our process is we do an invitation process of bidders that we know as a company from our past history. In conjunction with that, I work with Mary Jo and her group to advertise publicly. We advertise it in the newspaper, we advertise it in the website. We also put it out.
Required by law.
Correct. We also put it out to 2 public plan rooms. They're more online nowadays than they are having drawings on the table. CAM, which is the Construction Association of Michigan. Many contractors in southeast Michigan operate through that as a means of finding projects to bid. And also Dodge Reports, which operates a little larger area, includes Grand Rapids and a bigger geographic area of the state of Michigan. So we give our documents to those folks too, so that people can find it there. It is a public invite to bid. It is prevailing wage. And the bids are required to be turned into the library. They came here on the 27th of March, which is a Tuesday, 2 p.m. They're required to be in a sealed envelope with the name of the company identified in the category they're bidding. We sat there at that table, Sharon, where you're at. Hillary opened them. I read them publicly. Tony from our office recorded them. That's the tabulation sheets that you see here. Identifies the contractor name, whether they have their bid bonds, whether they have their base bid, and then any alternates. So all of that information is produced publicly for anyone's knowledge, the public. There were several members here that did listen. Most of them were contractors that were interested in the results. Then we take that information and we go back. We have post-bid interviews with the low contractors, go through the scopes of work that they were issued. Basically, it's an in-depth meeting to understand how they're gonna build the job, make sure they understand the schedules, how it's all gonna work, just to minimize risk and make sure there's a comfort level, so that when we make our recommendation to you guys, we've already dissected these bids, to make sure that they're as complete as possible. So we did all of that on the 4th of April. We met with the building committee, presented the same packet of information in even more detail. They approved it for your approval tonight. And here we are.
And that's how every one of these bid
Correct.
packages are gonna go through our whole process.
Yep, that's how we did it with the demolition of the H&B building, and we will do it exactly the same for the future bid packs to come.
I was here for that, for the opening of the bids, and in fact, I sent Matt an email afterwards, because I was very impressed with the way it was done. I've been at other public places where they opened up bid envelopes, and it wasn't as seamless as this was.
Well, thank you, I
I think you
appreciate
did a
it.
very good
Appreciate
job.
Were you the only, I'm glad you were there, were you the only board member there?
I was out of town.
I'm very glad that you were able to be there.
Yeah, you did a real good
I've
job.
been quite a bit limited lately, and I'm really glad at the quality of this board and our teamwork.
Yep.
And our,
Dan was there as well.
and our design
as part of the
team as
process.
well.
Yeah, for sure.
So, thank you for that clarification,
Certainly, yep.
all that information, which helps us as we actually take action on the open motion that has been supported. Now, is there readiness for the roll call vote? Okay, Madam Secretary, we're putting you to work today.
Favor, yes. Janevis,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes,
Hughes Groves. Yes. Teresa,
Yes.
Peter.
Yes. This was Tanya's estimated time of arrival. She's stuck in traffic, so what can you do with traffic? So we'll have to have an excused absence for her on this vote. So that does handle the biggest item under our building committee report for today, but we do have some other things possibly that we might want to discuss.
I just want to mention that we had a meeting with several Sumter Township officials and our attorneys. We will have another meeting. We're still working out the date, but in the next week, I believe. A week or two. And working on our lease agreement.
I was able to attend that meeting, as was our director, who was back in town at that point, so.
It was a good meeting.
It was a good meeting. It is important that we have such a full plate with the big building, but the work that we're doing in Sumter is very important to us, equally as important, and it's important for us to be sure that there is clarification and understanding all around, and I think all of us who attended that meeting felt that it was really important because there were some communications that just weren't going through. Even Rosemary's comment earlier today indicated that we just want to make sure that our communication with our Sumter constituents, they are our district, is as full and robust as it needs to be, and we do plan to have the entire building committee meet in Sumter with their officials, hopefully within the next week and a half. And the movement ahead on our Sumter branch, our media branch in Sumter, is as important to us as is the building on which we're gonna have our ceremonial groundbreaking in just a few days. So good, I'm glad you brought that up.
And I don't have anything else,
Okay,
although Dan probably.
Dan has,
Sorry.
Dan has a thing or two.
You can't escape. Just real briefly, we are scheduled to go before a planning commission this Thursday, so 2 days from now, the 12th.
Yes,
We are,
I'm sorry, that was a very important thing for me not to say.
based on just some discussions with the city, we've decided since we have made some design changes, the building committee considered changes after our January presentation to the planning commission, and after our design development estimating was complete, we made some changes that impacted the exterior. And since those were changes from what planning commission had reviewed last September, sort of more as a way of making sure that we just don't hit a stumbling block in terms of being able to move ahead with construction.
Here she is.
We're gonna go back sort of formally to them, just present the exterior building, talk briefly about the changes, and ask that they approve those changes. We have submitted the site construction drawings to the city. I think we submitted those March 2nd with the idea that they're doing a detailed engineering review and permit for site construction. Our goal is to be able to get those, get some Matt and his team can be able to pull the necessary permits to be able to start construction. As soon as we get the green light with the city in terms of their, vacating 4th Street is part of that timeline. And then as we will continue this process, as we complete the documents, the construction documents for the building portion, the second bid package, we'll do the same, submit those to the city for building plan review, permit review, and with the goal of being a pull a permit. And what we didn't want to have happen is when those drawings go to the city sometime in May, that we didn't want planning commission to say, wait a second, there's changes from what we approved. So we're trying to head that off. That would potentially put us to where we'd have to go to planning commission in June or July and get that, sort of revisit those changes before the city would feel comfortable issuing a building permit. So this purpose of going here to planning commission this Thursday is really to try to streamline and be able to hopefully prevent any little speed bumps that would delay our construction start. So that's the first purpose for doing that. It's more of like, I would think it's more like crossing T's and dotting I's than anything significant. So that's the intent for going there on Thursday.
Well, I do have a question based on our public comment information that was just given. And I'm asking if anybody confirms that it was my understanding we were on the agenda for April 12th.
John
On the
called me
agenda,
to
but
tell
the
me that we were on the
screen issue.
agenda. What Randy relayed to you
Was
this
the
evening
screen issue was
that's,
taken off?
that's new information to us all.
Is that, Dan, is the screen issue, are we still on for the
Yes,
basic
yes.
thing? We requested to make sure
Yes.
that this item that Dan spoke about was definitely on there.
Yes.
And the other was optional,
Yeah.
okay.
I have a question for Matt. When, best case scenario, can we start digging?
Best case scenario, well, we were anticipating mid-May,
Mid-May?
early to mid-May, depending on how things come together, but that was our target,
Mary
Okay.
Jo, when's the public hearing for vacating?
the 7th.
May 7th.
We do have to wait 4 weeks from when the city council put it on. The public has to have 4 weeks before there's a public hearing on that, and so that will be early May, so mid-May is about where we're gonna be.
Is there any movement at all on the telephone poles?
Edison has told us they've started some of their rerouting, but they have not started any removal of any of the poles that are gonna be removed.
So is there any indication if that would happen before we start digging, or it's likely to be?
They've given us the indication that that stuff was gonna happen before the end of April, or by the end of April. So we're continuing to work with them. The other piece that's gonna be important is getting the other franchise utilities to get their stuff off as well. You know, a lot of the Edison stuff is up high, and then below that is a lot of the Comcast, AT&T, those types of things, so.
But we can work around them if we need to.
We can, if necessary, but we've been in contact with all of the utility companies. Kind of got them all in the same circle of discussion, and
So there's some hope that they will do
Yeah.
it by the end of April.
And Mary Jo
I have
noted that,
evidence,
yeah,
there are power poles on the
Yes.
ground on Third
On Third
Street
Street.
between
Oh, good.
Charles and Church.
Yeah.
Whoopee.
18,
Their new
ATE
ones
is
are old ones
doing
is
that.
all over.
Am I to understand that this work is gonna be during the evening?
which work is that?
DTE's work.
Yeah, DTE's work.
I don't have that knowledge.
I had a conversation many months ago with someone from DTE, and I think I understood that that was their normal process,
Yeah,
but we've not gotten any, or Matt hasn't gotten any
okay.
indication
So we don't
from them.
compromise any of the businesses or churches or whatever.
You know, this is what DTE does, so I think,
Yeah.
I think they understand all of those things, but that is, I think, in DTE's decision-making.
Okay.
Oftentimes, they can do a lot of the prep work and running the wire, but the shutdowns to disconnect and reconnect services, they may have to coordinate some of that in the evening.
Okay.
And then one last question, the next round of bid packages is gonna include what? And
Everything
when?
else.
The rest of the
The whole
project.
rest of the project? Okay.
So it would be bid package number 2, and there's not a 3 and a 4 and a 5?
Hopefully not.
I mean, there could be some things that, minor things that we choose to,
That have to go
Happen
later, but
later, but-
basically, when we do the next one, it's most of everything else.
Yeah, design-wise, we'll be ready to bid everything else.
And do you have any idea when that bid round, I mean, if all goes well?
I know Dan's team is targeting early to mid-May, which is,
Okay.
well, actually, we did talk about doing it sort of in 2 steps. So what Matt and we have talked about is early May for us getting the rest of the documents essentially complete. We'll, just like we did with the site construction, we'll pass those documents on to Matt and his team. One thing that we've talked about, and we touched on this at the building committee meeting briefly, is typically what Matt would then do is take the time to digest those drawings. Obviously, they're going to do their bid scoping and instructions to bidders, as you talked about earlier. But then they would also, at this point, do what we call a control estimate, where they essentially would estimate, based on the completed drawings, what they think the cost will be. And then we'd come back to the library with that estimate. If everybody says we're on budget, then we would ask the library to sort of authorize the team to bid the project out. That's typically how we were planning to do this. Matt has suggested that, and we agree, because of some of the sequencing of the schedules as they've looked closely at how the work will progress, that there are some built-in gaps that we'd like to eliminate during the construction, primarily centered around the foundations and the structural steel. There's a very long lead time between the time we award contracts, I think, I should say 18 weeks. So by the time when we award the structural steel package to a contractor, it's going to be 18 weeks before steel arrives on the site. And so, in an effort to try to streamline that, Matt has suggested that as soon as they get the drawings, that he may put together a bid pack 1.5 or 2.0 that would just bid out structural steel and the foundations while they're doing their detailed estimating, and then we would be able to maybe streamline some of the gaps in the construction schedule process. So about the time probably that we are getting those bids in and evaluating them, O'Neill will have the estimate for the whole project complete. We'll be able to have a sense whether we're on budget and have a certain confidence level awarding those steel and foundation contracts while we bid out the remainder of the project. So from a drawing standpoint, from what we're doing, it's one more step. From what Matt and his team is gonna possibly do, is gonna be two more steps. Does that make sense, or did I confuse people?
And this tariff may impact the steel prices,
It could.
It could.
unless they buy their steel from Canada or Mexico, which belong to NAFTA. All depends on where the company wants to get it, right?
It does, and that's an item we don't have control over. The market is seeing not really an uprising, but the market is seeing a lot of questioning going on about supply and demand. So that can always impact pricing, especially for structural steel. So there may be increased costs, there may be increased lead times, all the more reason to get that package on the street sooner than later.
Yeah.
As you know, those tariffs have been proposed, they have not been put into law yet, but it still creates a buzz in the
I
market.
think they're saying 15% increase if it goes through, which is significant.
So we want to get moving, but it sounds like we are
That's,
moving.
that's part of the impetus,
To move.
schedule-wise and that uncertainty. The sooner we can try to get into that game,
And
hopefully
hammer that
we can eliminate some of the uncertainty in the project.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits to us as a team to get the structural portion of this project moving forward.
Yeah.
Sooner the better. The other thing that helps is our favorable bid results from the site work. Just give us that much more confidence going forward to make decisions, but
We will hope.
Now, you said that it takes 4 weeks,
This is the city charter.
the city,
yeah, and I think that
Can
forward
we-
process is happening over.
expedite this
Yeah.
somehow?
No.
No, May 7th will be the
Yeah.
4 weeks is
figured
the
May
in.
7th?
correct,
You
Mary
said
Jo,
midday
the May
earlier.
7th is the date of the vote, which is essentially the 4 weeks, correct?
Okay,
We figured it in based on what the city charter is and based on our work with the city, so
okay,
we're just moving along.
It shouldn't
the way
affect
we're
it, it
supposed
shouldn't affect us.
okay.
I did hear Joy say that this was, that she didn't have anything else.
No.
And we have had a very good, full discussion. It's important for all of us to understand because this is really the nitty gritty of what our work has all been for. But I think we are ready to move on in committee reports. Okay, I see heads nodding. So I will move to item 6B, the bylaws committee. Any report?
I have nothing.
No report. The finance committee, treasurer?
No report, but I did want to indicate that I was able to attend the building meeting, so I did get a chance to review all the information.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad you kept my seat warm. Marketing committee.
Yeah, just a couple of brief comments. Just that we have everyone knows the groundbreaking coming on this coming Saturday, and the invites were sent out by the library. And the plan is to have bookmarks and limited number of swag bags and beautiful hats. And
Vanna White is demonstrating as Alma speaks. Yes, we would like to see, we want the fun part of this meeting. Alma is giving us the fun part of the meeting. Structural steel is all well and good, but little puppies and wag bags.
Hard to compete with puppies.
It is hard
Yeah.
to compete with puppies.
Especially that
We do-
puppy.
We have been getting good response from our theme of digging our new library. Okay. Oh, my.
What's better than a puppy with a construction hat on? A hard hat.
We also have construction hat stress balls, so the kids might not get these, this might have to go
No,
to.
those are for the children.
We have to go to people
That's for the
that have
building
trouble-
committee.
trouble keeping our- yeah, we can work off our stress. Oh, these are really good.
And how many did we order?
36. 36 puppies, 36 bags,
We're
144
expecting-
pencils.
We're expecting 100% rain that day.
So are we really?
Well, we are expecting rain, but whether it's all day long and whether it's right during our
And
time.
so we're getting, going to be setting up 2 tents.
Well, I think they're,
Getting
Club
this time.
digging
Oh.
there.
Or what?
Digging around and dog puppies like to be.
Your
They're
drum-
encouraging families
your
and
drum
children to
gets
come
called
around
into
breaking, so.
action.
Yeah, they created a little logo for the ground roughly, the dog digging in the dirt.
Okay, I think it is a nice time for us to discuss the upcoming, like I said, the fun stuff. So, between Alma and Mary Jo, I'm trying to think that maybe this should, we get more, it starts at 11.
Starts at 11.
Starts at 11, it is
Rain or
at,
shine, we will make it work. If I had known it was going to rain, I would have bought umbrellas instead
Is
of.
there champagne? Is there any champagne?
There will be, I think there will be some sparkling grape juice.
we are a library.
I have 8 bottles of champagne at home.
8?
So we'll go over the dogs.
That might be enough.
One for me and 7 for the rest of you.
We plan to probably heavily make use of the portico since it will be raining, but we'll,
And we're doing our groundbreaking right in the front
on the front lawn here.
because that's really the only part of the building site that we can actually get into the ground.
Is
at
it
this
a
moment.
humble shovel or is it some big piece of equipment?
Both, I think.
Yeah, there's gonna be a backhoe here, as well as a pile of sand for digging in or playing in, depending on what the day brings.
1 or 2 piles of sand.
I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2, but I know it's at least
Gonna
one.
dig
One
one
for the
pile.
kids, one for the,
There you go.
Well, if it's
We'll have
raining
some
and
ceremonial
muddy, I
shovels
don't
as
know
well,
if the parents
for
are gonna
picture
be-
taking, and we are gonna have some construction garb out there to kind of make the scene as well, so.
And we have our photo op kind of planned some kind of way.
So I asked Dan today about using his pop-up tent so that we can have some shelter for the photo op.
Okay. And we have shovels,
Yes, ma'am.
nice,
Hard hats.
nice little fancy time shovels, just for this process.
Yep, we've got fancy shovels and hard hats, and there'll be construction barrels set up with some, so we'll stage the area very well.
So our hard hat will be our individual umbrella.
There you go. Yep, should work
What
very
a
well.
plan.
Are you going to Black Hawk for it?
No.
No.
well, if it rains, people are gonna be underneath the entrance anyway, you know, and they're not gonna be in the street.
And then when you start digging in the street.
Yeah, that's why
I'll have to
this
check
is
with
a
Nick.
ceremonial celebratory, because most of the space that we have to dig up is concrete now, and
That's why we had.
that won't be too ceremonial, that'll be for real
Rather
when
than
we get to
the
going
digging
on
actually.
that.
And owned by the city.
And,
We
yeah,
may
and
stick
we
a
have a
shovel in
few,
the actual grass.
the vacating of the city, of the street, which we were just talking about, the time we have to wait for that, so.
And I've also asked Dan if he could possibly bring the virtual reality library that he had at the
Oh,
first
that'd be
meeting.
nice. I
So
get to see that.
we'll
Yeah,
have that-
I would
Look at
really
that stuff
like
in
to
this
look at
room.
that again, because one of the things, yeah, I wanna look at the reading.
And And of course, there will be
Popular.
cake and coffee refreshments. And probably with the rain, we'll probably shorter speeches than we would have had before, so.
A show of hands, how many of our board members think they can be here for this? Good, lovely, 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 it's very important, we've been working so hard, and this is gonna be kind of fun, so it's good that we can all put it, make ourselves here, and I'm hoping I'll be a little less limping along. I'm hoping the doctor tomorrow will let me move around a little better, but whatever it is, I'll be here and I'll do what. As long as y'all don't let me fall over into the mud. Lurching into the mud. Good, that's a wonderful, report, and, I thank you very much, Alma. Anything further?
No.
Thank you. And the Personnel Committee is next. Ms. Caver, anything? No report for Personnel. Policy, Ms. Dawson?
I don't have anything to report.
No report, that's all good. And then we do have on the agenda an update on the art committee. It has met a couple of times. I was not able to be at the last one, and so I will defer to our director was unable to be there either. So I think we're deferring to Madam Dawson or who's clubs? You can do it together.
We had a good meeting. We talked about different ways of, different ideas on how to raise some money to either get some type of a display case type of thing for smaller collections of whatever we decide to showcase. There's also some talk about whether or not to use a hanging system in the big wall thing. That's where the new books
By
are. That,
New book display
Yeah,
and
that
large
big
print.
wall. We went around and we looked, no, that was a different meeting, where we went
Right.
around and we looked at the different,
That was a meeting before
Items,
the dance.
right.
Yeah, and they also brought, pictures of the the light display that's in Art Van. So we got a chance to see that. That was really different, very unique.
And there was also some talk, Tim Marsh brought some information, on, I guess you'd call it a contest. You'd call it a contest, wouldn't you?
Cheers.
Well, there were different things. We could either do chairs, like decorate, like wooden chairs, okay? Strategically and decoratively painted chairs. They could be auctioned off. You can invite different artists to come and take a chair, take it home. There would be a fee associated with it, and there was some talk as to whether or not that would be worth our while, because we'd have to sell a heck of a lot of chairs. Plus, we'd have to purchase chairs to be able to give them out to the
Right.
artists.
And then they would be auctioned, money would go to,
The art community.
yes.
Then there was also some talk about, instead of chairs, different types of sculptures. I don't know if any of you have ever been to the Cleveland Zoo, but they have these elephants that stand about this tall, and they're all painted differently by different, maybe sponsored by a company or whatever. Yeah, well, evidently Tim Marsh did something similar to that with frogs, like, they're about this big.
What about
Sitting frogs.
turtles?
He talked about turtles.
Chicago, they did it with cows.
Yeah. So there was, there was a lot of discussion. We didn't come up with a definite plan. So,
Well,
and the next meeting is next Wednesday evening.
Maybe it needs to be Dawes.
Wednesday, what?
Yeah, next Wednesday,
What's the date?
17th.
17th.
What time?
7th.
There is a member of the public who's on the, were you able to attend that meeting, Barbara?
No, I did not attend that meeting, that's the only one I've missed, but
I had to miss it too, so I just wanted to make sure that if you had been there and you.
I appreciate your trying to include me, but I wasn't there, I'm ashamed to say.
Okay, well, I appreciate being updated since I was not there either, and I'm
And
glad
the
that
next
there's
meeting is the 17th?
Next Wednesday, yes.
17.
Wednesday's the
18th.
That's the 18th.
Wednesday's
Okay,
the 18th.
you're right.
It's at what?
The 18th. It's on
The
Wednesday,
18th.
a week from tomorrow.
Oh, okay, the 18th is Wednesday.
It's gonna be held here.
And where will it be? Here at the library? At what time?
7.
7 o'clock. And Alma, you have
Oh, I
something
was,
to add on that?
yeah, I was just gonna say, one of the suggestions that I made, because everyone really liked the invite, if we could get maybe t-shirts with the,
Oh, yeah.
with that logo.
Digging our new library.
Yeah.
I did talk with Michelle Montour about that, and we're gonna get about 30 t-shirts made up for in time for, hopefully in time for Saturday. And it'll say, it'll have the logo, I'm digging our new library, and give the date of the.
Are we selling them?
I think we're gonna try this on them, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, great.
T-shirt cannon.
We should be high business.
Yeah, right, pick up with t-shirts. Well, good, I think we have, it is, well, it could be worse because the weather lately has been so much snow and at least rain, and in the 50s or 60s is much better than snow in the 30s or 40s, so. Anyway, we will enjoy ourselves on, and hopefully Rosemary will be there with her trusty camera. Well, good. So is there anything else on the art committee?
No.
Thank you all for those of us who, Mary Jo was unable to be there, a number of us needed to be updated, all of us did. Now we move back to businessy items. The main one is approval of the accounts payable, and accounts payable are as customarily, they are listed in your packet. Is there,
Make a motion to approve accounts payable as presented.
there's a motion by Dawson, a support
I second.
from Stoudemire. Are there any questions on the items listed in accounts payable? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying no, nay. The item has passed unanimously. And now we're on to the director's report, which I look forward to, it's always enjoyable. Mary Jo, back from,
Back from a different continent.
yeah, from the other side of the world.
I'm going to pass out a minor correction to the director's report. We failed to put the number of library programs that we had, so just pass those around.
Need a copy?
And while I was out of town, Hillary, my assistant director, handled everything very well. She handled the day of the bid openings, and she worked with Matt and his people on plans for the groundbreaking. So a lot of stuff happened while I was gone. Have to go away more often.
Or not.
Or not. In addition, I want to brag a little bit. The Taylor Community Library was able to host the Librarian of Congress, Dr. Carla Hayden, and Hillary and McKenna from our library were able to attend. They had a little bit of a question and answer session before Dr. Hayden did a story time at the Taylor Library. That's where her roots are. This is the first time, I think, in a very long time that the Librarian of Congress has actually been a librarian.
and so it was very inspiring.
That's very exciting to have her in our area, and I wanted to put in a plug that not only did Hillary and Nakenya attend, but Nakenya's daughter Naima, who I think made a bigger hit with the Librarian of Congress than anybody else. She got a personal invitation to come and view one of the holdings in the Library of Congress, and I hope she is able to go. Naima is very active in our library. She's now about, how old is Naima? Now about 10-ish, I would say. So that, and it would be, it is great that, that Librarian of Congress visited as close to our area. And we'd like to look forward to things maybe.
Debbie Dingle was there also.
Yeah,
We will
Debbie Dingle
invite her
was
to our open house when we have our new library. We'll invite.
Right,
to our open
our
house.
congresswoman spearheaded that program, and our congresswoman has worked very closely with us and already has indicated a willingness to perhaps work with us on something like that when we move along with our big project.
So this is National Library Week, and one of the ways we are celebrating, obviously we are ending up with our groundbreaking, but we have a homegrown knowledge program this Thursday evening. Some of you are going to be at the Planning Commission meeting, so you're going to miss my talk on the history of the library. But we do have, we've been working with the museum, plus some of the pictures that we have here at this library, to put together the history of the library service in this area since 1920. 1920.
1918, with Fernando Moon.
Well, he was the first.
In the building that Caldwell Banker
Yeah,
was.
the furniture store. So
I think he was 1917 or 18.
So it was, our record showed 1921, I believe, was when that started, so well, yeah, we've got some interesting info, and, the library that was at the furniture store also, tripled as a funeral home. So it's a funeral home /
Very quiet.
Now, what kind of message does that say?
Furniture, books, and death.
So we've come,
And
we've come,
eternal
we've come a long,
silence.
we've come a long way since then.
Did you have
Well,
just a joke?
well, Barbara usually brings this up, but that would be a wonderful thing to videotape if you could, since you're gonna be talking about the history of the library. And you even have it as, available on your website, would be a wonderful thing. I don't know if you thought about
Okay,
that.
well, we'll try to.
Puts more
I'll
pressure on.
practice
you.
Well, you could do Facebook Live.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Great,
So anyway, we're looking forward to that.
and it is this Thursday.
And Friends of the Library are having their used book sale May 5th. In addition, we're having our perennial plant swap that day. So if you have any items you would like to trade, it would be nice to be able to bring them.
Boy, it's already time for that. I guess it's hard to believe since we've been looking at snow.
And I just left you with a couple of articles for your reading enjoyment.
Are there comments or questions for our director? Comments? It is one of the more interesting parts of our meeting, and always
Thank you.
so we appreciate that, and hopefully everybody in the public has got these interesting articles to look over as well. Thank you very much. So I believe that ends item number 8, and we are to item number 9, trustee comments. We can start with Mr. Jariga.
A few weeks ago, we had the mayor's ball, the mayor from Romulus, the mayor from Belleville. We celebrated at the BYC for the Boys and Girls Club of Belleville and Romulus, and we made a great deal of money. Thank you.
Is that a secret? Why don't you tell us how much you made?
$50,000.
And then that's split between each of the,
Yeah. And it costs about $150,000 to run each building for a year, so. it's
The
just-
Boys and Girls
Yeah,
Club.
just part of it, you know.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Maybe we should fundraise that way.
Well, that's very good, and, comments of the trustees, I want to say. Tanya.
I just wanted to thank the hardworking people on the building committee, because I had a chance to see them in action, and I don't think I was able to stay for the whole meeting. But, you know, there's definitely a lot of work that goes into that, so I just want to thank you guys for all that you all do, in terms of trying to get us to the point where we're finally at a, groundbreaking city on Saturday.
Seems such a long way away. Village Pass.
Yeah.
It's like coming.
You wanna know how many hours we spent?
Yes, John?
110 hours.
And counting.
Wait, but that didn't count the meeting you missed.
And counting. So it's more than 110 hours. LaShawn? You wanna skip and come back? We'll give her that. Joy?
I want to thank the marketing committee for all the hard work going into this groundbreaking, and the swag, the cute swag. And I also want to thank John Jariga, who spent some extra effort this month, making sure all the folks who went to, the state of the tri-community, is that, I don't know what that meeting was about.
It's the Belleville area Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, the Chamber
Which I
of
will
Commerce
talk about a
meeting.
bit too.
And making sure that all involved knew what was going on at the library and connected with them. And for Tanya for crashing our building committee.
We invite other crashers. Please crash.
That's it.
Mary Jane?
Well, I'm looking forward to Saturday, as I'm sure all of you are. Gonna be really excited to see the kids' faces who end up getting those little swag bags and the puppies. And if you're done shopping for books and trading plants, BYC is gonna be cleaning up the lake. Around the lake, not the lake itself, but around the lake on May 5th, starting at 9 o'clock. We meet on Steve Jones' property that's across the street from the CVS drugstore and behind Liberty, on Liberty. Okay, that's it.
Alma?
Just that I'm really excited about the groundbreaking. It's gonna be the highlight of the year for me. Really looking forward, and it's just kinda gives people an idea where we're at, and they can really evidence that something's being done and something new and exciting is coming to the community, so I'm pretty excited about that. And also the building committee for all the hard work and commitment that they put forward, and for Matt coming out today and going over things with us. And Sharon Peters for being here today. Welcome back.
I'm glad to be back. I think that was the only meeting I missed, and I didn't, missing a March meeting, I would not want to be this dramatic again in order. Anyway, I'm glad to be here. For chair comments, I wanted to start with my excitement about. See how you asked me to skip you, and I'll skip you away. Sorry, Michelle. I'm sorry,
Like I'm sitting
Michelle.
over here.
No, I'm just teasing.
Yeah,
I just,
Go ahead.
My eyes are probably really red right now. Just disregard. It's been a long day. Just want to thank, once again, the building committee for all the heavy lifting. Joy.
thanks for it.
You're gonna hit me. Joy, I know that you all are putting in a lot.
It's everybody.
I know, that's why I was so glad that she went out of the country. And I was like, it's me, it's okay. You deserve a break. No, and I'm really excited about Saturday as well. I made sure that I cleared my schedule for Saturday. I do have a baseball thing first thing in the morning, but I'll come directly from baseball so I can make sure that I'm here. It's like, tell my husband, I'm like, no, don't say something on Saturday, but it starts at 9, so I'll be able to get here. So I'm excited. I'm excited about everything that's going on and excited about the future of the library. That's all.
Thank you. On that notion, or on that, as a segue, I would say that I really want to thank this library team. I had to be absent a little bit and have had to slow down and not be able to attend as much as I would like to, but we do have a very strong team. And knowing, I just learned tonight, knowing that the one recent building committee that I had to miss, that Tanya was able to attend, feels good. That MJ was able to attend the bid opening. We just fill in where it needs to be, and that's the way it is supposed to be. The entire board needs to be active. One of the things that I was able to do in the last month, since you all last met, was to attend the Belleville Area Chamber of Commerce tri-community presentation that Joy alluded to. John also attended, as did Hillary. And we had a good representation of the library, which was very good because this year, in addition to the 3 communities, the supervisor of Van Buren Township, the deputy supervisor and deputy treasurer of Sumter Township, and the mayor of Belleville, they added a presentation from the superintendent of schools. It is the one kind of community chance for you to get a report on the status of the community, and all 3 of those municipalities that make up our library district all have made mention of our library. I, along with Joy, thank John Juriga for assuring that all of them had the proper information. I did get a couple of telephone calls and was able to talk to one of the supervisors to be sure. He just wanted to know that he was accurate on what he was going to say, but it reflects the excitement from the community about what we're doing, and we do represent. We are elected by the same constituency that elects those individuals. So, and we were recognized as being there and representing the library, and I was glad that I was able to go to that. And I give special thanks to Hillary, who I'm going to be a long time before I'm able to drive, since I went and messed up my driving foot. So I've been also thankful for all of you who have helped me get around when I've needed to, and that was a very worthwhile activity. That work is very important, and the community outreach and chance to talk with folks is important to us. Saturday is a wonderful activity for us, rain or shine, and the fact that all of us plan to be there is wonderful. And so with that, I will end and just look forward to seeing all of you on Saturday and us enjoying this big step that we've taken with our design team and with all this hard work that we've put in. So, John?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to be adjourned.
Yes, it is moved by Juriga, seconded by Chehevitz, that the meeting be adjourned. The motion is non-debatable. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The meeting is adjourned.